In this video, I'm going to talk about the oil level measurement on the M156 engine. The oil level can be very tricky to get right. Sometimes it seems that every measurement you take on the dipstick is different. And I believe this is causing some owners to inadvertently overfill their engine, which is not good. So to check the oil level by the book, best to have the car at normal operating temperature, fully warmed up, shut off, parked on a level surface, and you wait 5 minutes at least. With the dipstick dried out, we go back in to check. So we notice here that it's low. So we'll check the oil level again, very carefully, very slowly. And now we notice that the level is higher. The level is actually perfect. Now what's most likely going on here is that there's a tiny little vent in the fill tube, and that's actually venting the air as you insert the dipstick. Because the oil that we are touching to get the measurement is not in an open oil sump, it's actually up the tube a little bit.
There's a maximum and a minimum, and I'm pointing on the maximum and the minimum here.
Because that vent is very small or could even have dirt in it or something, you need to go very, very slowly and carefully and try and wiggle it in. So if we just looked at the first measurement, we might say that it's not full to add more. But this is not necessary after the second pull that we did, and it may lead you to overfilling the engine. Now on the dipstick, the filling quantity between the upper and lower marks is about 1 liter. So the trick is to be just patient, slow, and careful here. The reason this is so important is that overfilling the engine is bad. If the oil is overfilled by, say, 1 liter or more, air bubbles can get into the oil. That's according to one of the designers of this engine, Bernd Ramler, in a recent video. Which got me thinking about the oil level measurement. As he says, the oil balance is sensitive in this engine. It's not good for the crankshaft counterweights to potentially run through the oil and create air bubbles. Say air gets into the sensitive lifters, that's not good at all.
Der Ölhaushalt war sehr, sehr sensibel, also der funktionierte, aber in dem Motor 1 Liter Öl zu viel einfüllen, dann hast du gleich mal 30 PS verloren. Also dann hat's gepanscht, dann kommt Luft ins Öl, dann kommen hier Klackergeräusche und solche Themen. Die sind nicht easy, weil man muss ja das Ganze auch noch durch den Kundendienst in Richtung Kundschaft führen.
I think his comments about overfilling are interesting. In the M156, the crankshaft has the bed plate between it and the oil sump. The bed plate itself does displace a lot of volume as well as the big oil pump itself. So if you were to start overfilling the oil, the level would rise quite quickly as it finds its way around the bed plate. Now, while the engine is running, the oil level in the sump drops down, of course. So this aeration of the oil that they're talking about would really become an issue on the cold start or when you start the engine, rather than while running, in my opinion at least. The M156 does have a scavenged oil pump with a spiral cylinder that's supposed to combat any aeration of the oil. The channel Motor and Zimmer on YouTube also discussed this concern before. Nonetheless, I think AMG was concerned about the oil level because the dipstick in the early .983 engines are different from the later C63 and E63 .985 engines. If we measure the length from the top of the stick where it sits on the tube and the high mark, it is longer on the dipstick from the 212 and 204 compared to this CLS 219. In other words, the correct oil level is lower in these newer cars, even if the oil pan, oil pump, and dipstick guide tube are all the same part numbers. Not that the old dipstick is a wrong level, it's just that they are adding more of a buffer zone with the oil in the newer engine. Now we have a third new oil dipstick that I have here. This adds a different housing to the top to keep it from popping out of the tube, as these sometimes do under high RPM driving and as the seals get heat cycles over time. Notice how the old stick on the left from the CLS 219 doesn't have a vent at the top, so its reading would be even more tricky to get right. I see people online saying they couldn't find this dipstick anywhere, but it seems like a few US retailers had it in stock, so I got one myself. It's made in like October 2023, so it's pretty new, shouldn't be difficult to get one. The length is more or less the same as the original stick from this 2011 E63. Now this is also specified as a replacement for the old 2007 CLS here. For the different oil sump on the S63 and CL63, I put the different part number up on screen. It has that exact same kind of new top design to keep it from popping out. The true reason I got the new dipstick is because this tab is cracked, and it's good to prevent garbage like that from going into the grate of the oil pump. And of course, the rubber seals are flattened down on a car with 55,000 miles. While, for example, on the CLS with only 4,000 miles, the seals still look like new, so worth changing on the E63 just for that. So long story short, good to keep an eye on this dipstick and replace it if needed, and also check the oil level very slowly and carefully. If you run this engine right, nice long trips, not 5-minute drives, change the oil every 5,000 miles, put on a new PCV, this engine will reward you. I mentioned Motor and Zimmer before. They took apart an example with 450,000 kilometers or 280,000 miles, and overall the engine looked very good. Signs of someone taking care with regular driving and service. And I know I've said this over and over, but it really helps that this is a closed deck block with the iron carbon coated cylinder walls for the engine's longevity. Too many German engines from Porsche to BMW to Mercedes use the Alusil aluminum silicon coating, which is totaling engines left and right these days. Yes, the M156 has issues that I've covered over the years, but it's worth putting up with them because they are great engines and a lot of the fundamentals are done right. On a side note, if you're noticing oil consumption on an M156, more likely than not it can be caused by the PCV not working correctly. A bad PCV can also cause the dipstick to come out and you'll hear a whistling sound. Also, this engine does have a low oil level warning sensor, not a level sensor, just a warning sensor. And that should be your last line of defense rather than what you wait for. You should be checking the oil level regularly. AMG also raised the oil level sensor for the very late 2013 to 2015 engines with these spacers. And all that means is that it would trigger the dashboard warning earlier, so it wouldn't let the oil level get as low, which in my opinion was a smart change. So over the years, basically AMG tried to tighten up that fill level and warn you earlier with those late engines. So that was a lot of talk about a simple thing like oil level, but it's important. I'd highly recommend to watch that video on Bernd Rammler about this great engine and the challenges of AMG making their own engine for the first time rather than tuning a regular Mercedes engine. It's in German, but you can get some translated subtitles to follow along. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, take a look at my store. Link is in the description. If you want to see more Mercedes and AMG content, subscribe for more videos like this one.